Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the World Health Network Business Spotlight. My name is Ben Calderwood. Here on the Spotlight, we chat with owners and entrepreneurs about how they do business in a COVID safer and more accessible manner, or help other businesses and individuals do the same. And today we're joined by Kyle Stevens of Clean Air Events out of Seattle, Washington. Welcome to the broadcast, Kyle.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about what you do with Clean Air Events.
Yeah, so my name is Kyle Stevens. I am the founder of Clean Air Events, which is a Far UVC event and business solutions company based in Seattle. And I provide mobile Far UVC for corporate events, volunteer opportunities, parties, etc., that are done in a COVID safe way and wanting to lower the links in transmission and make safe environments for their guests and employees. And also I provide online consultation services with people that are looking to dive into the world of Far UV. Every person's celebration and personal circumstance is different, and my job is aligning people with the products and just answering questions, learning about Far UV and nerding out about clean air.
And nerding
Yes.
out about clean air. That's excellent.
Yes.
So how do you think these efforts, sort of fit into the larger picture, of course, of reducing airborne virus transmission, COVID transmission in particular, and promoting clean air more broadly?
Well, I always explain to people off the bat that with Far UVC, it's a part of the Swiss cheese mitigation effect. It's not the magic bullet that we all wish it was, that we wish every piece of Swiss cheese mitigation was, but it's an important part in that it's the only continuously cleaning air purification device. As we know, HVAC circles air in the room. We know that masks filter air coming in to our mouth and nose, depending on the level of mask that we have. Some work better than others, obviously. What Far UV does is a continuous delivering of photons to the air that inactivate the part of the pathogen that can infect you. So it's constantly throwing millions and millions of photons each second out, depending on the power of the unit, depending on where it's placed. And so my goal is to work with clients and businesses in figuring out how do you apply these technologies to your specific space, as every space is different. Is it a small room? Is it a big room? And make it so it's not a reason to not mask, but it's another level in keeping yourself and your guests and your employees safe.
So how have you sort of publicized this effort? And I mean, what would you say clients and people's response has been?
Yeah, from the beginning, I knew it was going to be a slow burn because how much of the populace knows about Far UV in the first place? Certainly a lot of the COVID aware community. But for example, if you're not tuned into masking, chances are you're not tuned into Far UV, I'm finding. And so I find that it's one conversation at a time, letting people know, if they're not aware that COVID is still definitely here, that we're still in a pandemic, that it's still definitely a problem. And there are multiple levels of tools that can help with that, Far UV being one of them. I find it's one conversation at a time where people are able to ask questions in what I hope is a safe space, that there's no question that's too out there, or you shouldn't be embarrassed if you don't know about Far UV at all. And I start at a very ground level area, and we work up to people getting more comfortable in discussing how can this apply to my life, how can it apply to my businesses. I'm working with certain financial constraints. What's the best level of price meets speed meets service, and all those things kind of mixed together, and accessing each person's individual situation and how that can best work for them.
It sounds like a really comprehensive discussion, I would have to say, and approach in terms of keeping people informed about what their options are as far as Far UV and COVID protection in particular.
And that's
Um,
what I try to do. Yeah, and I find that, for me, what has been an unexpected experience is that a lot of these companies don't have individuals that can communicate these things in layman's terms. So I
mm,
find that I'm kind of a conduit of a suburban dad musician guy who found this the same way everyone else found it, but can describe, hey, how I've used it, what it looked like using it at a birthday party, what it looked like using it at weddings, and just talk through in real time, using technical speak, but nothing that is inaccessible to folks. And I feel like folks feel comfortable talking to people who are just like you and I, who are trying their best to figure it out.
Looking ahead, I mean, tell us how you feel about what do you think about sort of future goals for clean air events in particular and just clean air more broadly?
I really, I come at it from one conversation at a time to feel like if I can connect with somebody on a Zoom call, even for 45 minutes, just meet an individual who maybe isn't ready to dive into Far UV yet, that will prompt discussion in their home, that will prompt
Mhm.
discussion in their families, in their workplace. And I see it like a tributary expanding out. And eventually I feel like more of those conversations will start to intersect with each other. I know for a lot of people, Far UVC is not financially applicable for their lives right now. But that doesn't mean they're not going to work towards that point, is what I find. It doesn't mean that, capitalism will tell us we all have to go at Far UV together and we all should have our really expensive lamp that we bring along. But that's not the case. I remind people, hey, if you have a pod, a pandemic COVID safe pod you work with, or if you have a workplace or just different family units within your extended family, it's also something you can pass around and slowly build your library. So then, okay, you have one just for your own home. But these tools I think are really exciting and people are welcoming that they're there. They don't fully understand how it works yet, but I find these one-on-one conversations are the way to do it.
Tell our audience a little bit more about how you got into Far UV and how you started kind of conceptualizing this effort to clean the air through clean air events.
Totally. Well, in the before times, I was known, I still am known, but I don't tour anymore, as nerd rock artist Kirby Crackle, songs about comic books and video games, hence all the nerdy
Wow.
stuff in the background there. I spent 12 years pioneering the new movement of nerd rock, touring Comic Cons, etc. Pandemic hit, and I have not done a show or toured since. I also have a event DJ company called BCV Entertainment. And I was looking, after Omicron, I realized I needed to step up my game, and I was starting to feel a little more unsafe at these weddings where masking was not happening at all anymore, and I was on my own for creating a clean air bubble for myself and my guests. So in January of 2023, I found out about the Davos Economic Conference, and I was reading about the mitigations they were taking there. And in one of them, there was these purple lights that were in the background. And I
Mhm.
started researching what those were, and I found out it was Far UVC lamps. So I reached out to these companies, and I discovered that they were real and they are legit and they're powerful. And I couldn't understand why these weren't everywhere. And so talking to these companies, they said, well, you see what an uphill battle we have as a culture with masks, and that's a $5 mask for a good one, for example, and these are $1,000 units and hovering below and slightly above as well. And so what I decided to do is, in a combination of keeping myself safe and my wife starting to go through cancer treatment, of which she's making a full recovery now, I realized I needed to up my level of mitigation. So I invested in those lamps. And in 2023, I did 20 plus weddings using premium Far UV technology from places like Far UV Technologies, Sterile Ray, Bioabundance, et cetera. And to date, to my knowledge, because I do follow up, is there has not been a super spreader event at these gatherings where there has been zero masking except myself. So
Hmm.
what I've been trying to do is normalize that in these events, in these event environments. To date, I don't think there's any other wedding vendor using these in the country except me. And so given that it was a natural progression to clean air events, which I launched in October of 2023.
Got it. I guess while we're here, let me ask, I mean, how is business, so to speak? Do you have a lot of requests? How many consults are you doing? How busy does this keep you, and how interested are you finding people are in keeping in cleaning the air at events like weddings?
Yeah, so I knew it was going to be a slow burn off the bat because again, the knowledge about this technology is not widespread. But what I find people people feel a little bit of a comfort and a little bit of balm when I explain to them what I'm bringing to the table at these weddings. Again, it's something that I default put into my packages. It's not an auxiliary service. That's something that I launch clean air events for. But
I
being that
see.
I've had the most experience at events with Far UVC in my wedding business, people tell their family members that it's there. Sometimes I'll have an immune compromised member come up to me who didn't know about Far UVC previously, but was excited to learn more. One time I had an enthusiast, a proclaimed enthusiast, come up to me, was very excited and wanted to nerd out. But most of the time it's kind of projecting, excuse me, protecting from the shadows with this technology and letting people know that it's there who want to know. But as far as clean air events specifically, I find that most of what I'm doing now is consulting and slowly getting inquiries from businesses and event planners that I'm here. And my main job is just letting people know this technology is present and I'm able to provide it.
Once again, we've been talking with Kyle Stevens of Clean Air Events in Seattle, Washington. Thanks for being here. And before we go, do you have anything else you'd like to add to our discussion today?
Well, thank you for interviewing me and letting me know that you guys were here and wanted to talk. I'm really excited about what the WHN is doing. I'm excited to be a part of your community. And yes, if people are interested in learning more, they can find out more at cleanairevents.com. I'm very accessible and reachable. Even if people just want to send casual questions, fill out a comment form there.
Right.
Let me know what you're thinking about. If you have questions about certain units, if you have questions about how would I space this at a party, I have hundreds of hours in the field with these units, and I love talking about how to keep people safe who are enthused in doing so.
Awesome. Thank you.